5 seconds ஆரம்பிச்சு போங்க, 2 பேரும் போங்க.
A warm afternoon to all. I welcome you all to this international webinar. Romanticism as a disciplined approach, a relook into select romantic poets. Now I invite Dr. C.R. Utra, Dean of Research, Devanayammal College for Women, for the induction address.
Good afternoon, viewers, and a warm welcome. ES Educational Charities was established in 1983 by the esteemed industrialist, philanthropist, E. Swami Kannaiya, and 12 institutions has blossomed under the ES Group banner. The Devanayammal College for Women is one among them. Founded in 1989 and with more than 3 decades since its establishment, the college has been accredited by NAC with A grade in the 3rd cycle, conferred with autonomous status by UGC twice, and ranked nationally in the 84th place among all the self-financing autonomous colleges in India by the Education World. Recognizing the potential of the college, DST FIST has sanctioned funds for establishment of central instrumentation facility. The college has also received funds from organizations like DST, EDI, TNSCST for conducting programs in community development and research. The college has embraced itself with modern technology and its governance is fully automated. The college functions with focus on women empowerment, offering updated and contemporary curriculum and pleasant ambience. At present, there are nearly 3,000 students on roll and registered in 12 UG, 8 PG, 5 PhD programs. On behalf of the Devanayammal College for Women, I extend a warm welcome to all of you for this international webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your kind information. I welcome our distinguished chief guest, Dr. V.M. Sundar, faculty in the English Language Center, Salalah College of Technology, Salalah, Ministry of Manpower, Sultanate of Oman. I welcome you, sir. I welcome our renowned founder and chairman, sir, Thiru E. Swami Kannan, ESSK Educational Charities. Welcome, sir. Next, I welcome our optimistic secretary, sir, Mr. S. Sandil Kumar, ESSK Educational Charities. Welcome, sir. I welcome our vibrant registrar, Dr. E. Soundarajan, ESSK Educational Charities. Welcome, sir. I welcome our energetic principal, Devanayammal College for Women, Dr. M. Brinda. Welcome, ma'am. I welcome our vice principal of Devanayammal College for Women, Ms. V.S. Selvi. Welcome, ma'am. I welcome our Dean of Research, Dr. C.R. Utra, Devanayammal College for Women. Welcome, ma'am. I also welcome DA, Deaness, Controller of Examinations, all the heads of the department, external faculty and student participants, my colleagues in the department, and my beloved students. I welcome you one and all to this international webinar. I find immense pleasure in introducing our Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. V.M. Sundar, faculty in the English Language Center, Salalah College of Technology, Salalah, Ministry of Manpower, Sultanate of Oman. He has completed his PhD in English language teaching in English Language Center, Gandhigram University, Tamil Nadu. He has completed MPhil in Applied Linguistics and Phonetics from Central Institute of English and Foreign Languages, Hyderabad, in 1993. He has completed MA in English Language and Literature from Tyagaraja College of Arts and Science, Tamil Nadu, in 1991. He has completed BA in English Literature from GTN Arts College, Tamil Nadu, in 1988. He also completed Bachelor of Education from Annamalai University, Tamil Nadu, in 1992. He started his professional experience from 2005 to date in serving as faculty in the English Language Center, Salalah College of Technology, Salalah, Ministry of Manpower, Sultanate of Oman. He has wide experience in teaching English to students of mixed nationalities. He has participated and presented numerous papers in international conferences and published papers in international journals. He is a student of Dr. T. Balasubramanian, the author of a textbook of English phonetics for Indian students. We are all proud to have such a wonderful resource person today with us to present the webinar on Romanticism as a Disciplined Approach, a relook into select romantic poets. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this webinar on Romanticism as a Discipline. At the outset, let me thank all the authorities of this prestigious institution who have toiled themselves for a past 2 or 3 weeks, I should say, to make this webinar a successful one. When some faculty member from the institution called me, they were talking about so many things. Sir, since you have done research in linguistics and you have done research in ELT, why can't it be on ELT or linguistics or something related to that in phonetics? But I said, okay, all these things are fine. I'll be very much happier in order to present a paper on or a webinar on phonetics or linguistics. But the thing is, the most important aspect of this day is that literature. Literature, I find, as the best vehicle to move forward in our life. Why? Why? Because, okay, in order to understand linguistics, in order to appreciate phonetics, in order to have language teaching, you basically need literature. Because all these things, ELT or phonetics, linguistics, all these things put in one side will not match, will not be a comparison to what we are going to see, not only today, over the years and over the decades. Well, and even today, the topic that I have given, Romanticism as a Discipline, is something different what I want to have. And I want to ensure with everyone, are you able to see the slides now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay. Then it is fine. Because Romanticism as a disciplined approach. First, let me quickly tell you what is this Romantic period. The Romantic period has a significant place in the history of English literature because it is basically was introduced with the advent of lyrical ballads from William Wordsworth in collaboration with Coleridge and other people. But it is a revolt against the former ideas, and it is not that it is. Many people do think that romanticism means it is some kind of love, or it is some kind of exaggeration over feelings and other things, which has been depicted in the modern films and which has been depicted by the younger generation of the day. That is why I want to make it very clear. It is not the love or the aspect of love which we are having in this present day world. Of course, these romantic poets like Wordsworth, Keats, Shelley, and Coleridge did talk about love. But what kind of love is what I'm going to say. Romanticism as a discipline, why I have taken is the term romanticism cannot be defined accurately because there are umpty number of definitions and things of that sort for this romanticism. But what I need to tell you is very simple. See, when you think romanticism as a discipline, you should feel that it is a doctrine which holds the art and literature which should be free from the neoclassical rules. That is where I always say the neoclassicism is entirely different and they had the different ideas. So the art and the linguistic or the literary genre should be different. And these people, Wordsworth, Keats, Shelley, Byron, they have a high imagination, love for nature, supernaturalism, subjectivity, and whatnot. Everything they had. But to start with, let me tell you a very clear idea of what this romanticism as a discipline I mean. Say, look at these slides. Can you find something with these ideas? Can you find something with these pictures? Maybe these are all very ordinary, mundane things which are available in our society very easily for anyone. But what I mean is the romantic age or the romanticism as a discipline. Now look at that. The best portion of a good man's life, it is his life of nameless, unremembered acts of kindness and love. Because, very simply, humans are the only creatures in this world who are gifted with a sense to evaluate things going around him. You just imagine this term. Humans are the only creatures, of all the creatures created by God, humans are the only creatures who are gifted with a sense to evaluate things going around the world, around his life, but to find the meaning of life. But have we ever thought or have we ever questioned ourselves what is the meaning of life? If I ask somebody what is the meaning of life, they will say live well and get married, have kids, wealth, health, etc. No, it is not so, because most of the people can't find an answer for their life purposes. They think meaning as a thing rather than an experience. So what we need in our life is an experience, and that is where the romantic poets are there here today. It is a revolt. This period marked a revolt in the history of English literature. And that is where I will say, I believe in, say, I have given some clippings here. I believe in random act of kindness. The kindness can come in any form and any way, in any place. And if you have that kindness at your heart, if you have that kindness in your mind, if you have that kindness in your action, then you will never think nature will betray you. The nature never did betray the heart that loved her. And this is the love of nature that romantic poets had. This is the love of nature. Nature, in the sense, they feel not only the woods and trees and birds and flowers, but the human. Nature is nothing but a combination of all these things. But very carefully or very methodically, we just identify when we talk about nature. Say, what is the definition of poetry by Wordsworth? He says poetry is a spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings, taking its origin from the recollections of tranquility. Okay, fine. And now, when we say it is nature, we always feel that he means only the woods and trees and flowers and seas and oceans. No, it is the human, because human are the only people who have the capacity to think. And after doing all these things, we should think that the nature when he says, "My heart leaps up when I behold a rainbow in the sky. So was it when my life began. So is it now I am a man." Only when you realize what is there in nature, only when you realize what is there in nature, you will realize that you have become a man. And see, many people do not think that power, money, and the position and the favors that he is getting from the society, or the people who are in the higher position in the society, do make a living. Definitely not. When see, this is a poem. Many people, when they think about Wordsworth, they think about immortality word, to which I will come back. But they think about Tintin Abbey. Okay, I will also talk about Tintin Abbey. But see, all these things are familiar poems. But think about a poem like "My heart leaps up when I behold a rainbow in the sky." And in this poem, he says, and the most important thing, the child is the father of the man. That is where, see, that is where we have to see. That is where Wordsworth stands in the annals of English literature. Because, see, very simply, I can say, "What though the radiance which was once so bright be now forever taken from my sight." What was this is exactly a continuation or a beginning to the greater poem, Ode on Intimations of Immortality from the Recollections of Early Childhood. Because there, say, very simply, you can say, it starts with, "There was a time when meadows grew and stream," everything. But when you go into the poem, in the first section itself, towards the end, he says, "Whither is spread the visionary gleam? Where is it now, the glory in the dream?" Yes, people have lost sense of nature, sense of individuality, sense of everything, sense of belonging. And that is reflected by Wordsworth. And not only that, when I see, "Though radiance which was once so bright be now ever be taken from my sight, and though nothing can bring back the hour of splendor in the grass, of glory in the flower." A very minor poem. Nothing can bring the splendor in the grass and the glory, and we will not grieve. We will not grieve. Don't worry about that. Rather, find strength in what remains behind. This is the most important line, ladies and gentlemen. This is where I beg to differ from other people in terms of the romantic age. Because, see, we will not grieve not. The most important thing, the most problematic thing that everyone has is that we brood over the past. And brooding over the past, will it bring anything? We will not grieve not. Rather, find strength in what remains behind. This line, "what remains behind," is something different than what it actually means. You may not see the ocean. You may not see the ocean, but beware. Right now, we are in the ocean, middle of the ocean. How to come out of it? Our life is such. Do you know what is going to happen tomorrow? Or did we ever think what in the month of February that we will be having webinars like this to talk about Wordsworth and Keats and Shelley? But see, we will grieve not, rather find strength in what remains behind. That is, you may not, but, and here he means, I do believe in God. Because what remains behind, okay, fine. See, whatever is there, some life, something to cling on in our life will be there. So what remains is what we have to. I do believe in God. God has given so much for us as of now, and I'm thankful to that. I'm thankful to that. But I'm just thinking about what I can do, because to cry over the spilt milk is foolish. That is what say. Had this idea been there with Hamlet or Macbeth or Othello, we would have got a different tragedies altogether. But they didn't have. See, they were repenting about the same thing. They were talking about the same thing. And they were telling, "Oh, this should not have happened." Okay, what has happened has happened. What is next? That is why literature says we have to move away from the words and we have to go in between the words and what is there lying behind the words. And before I go to the word on intimations of immortality, let me tell you a very simple poem which everybody would have heard about it, Solitary Reaper. And what a magnificent poem. See, again, if you go into the Solitary Reaper as a poem with the meaning of the beautiful song by who is singing in the field, definitely you are not going to get what Wordsworth means. Behold her, single in the field, yon solitary island. See the word. See, even romantic poetry made ease for the readers, but look at the lines here. Behold her single in the field, yon solitary highland lass, reaping and singing by herself. Reaping and see, even a Shakespearean line cannot match that, and that is why don't have any comparison. Don't have any comparison. Say, and reaping and stop here or gently. See, why does he say stop here or gently? Because if you want to listen, you just stop here and listen to the beauty of the song, not the valley or the plains or anything or the situation. Stop here. If there are many people, that is why Shakespeare told, if music be the food of love, then play on. And those people who are not immune to the world of music will even murder the mother. So if you can stop, gently stop or gently pause. Don't disturb. Because if you see the magnificence, and the poet is not appreciating the song. The poet is not enjoying the beauty of the song and the life in that song. Life in that song. And alone she cuts and binds the grain and sings a melancholy strain. See, in spite of all these things, she has got a wonderful voice. She has got a wonderful rhythm. She has got everything. But what happens? And there is some kind of tragicness. This is the discipline that we want to make it. That even though we have everything, something hurts us. Something is there with every one of us, which broods, and that is why reaping and singing by herself a melancholy strain. Oh, listen. Oh, listen. See, this poem we can never forget. Oh, listen. The veil profound is overflowing with the wind. See, the veil profound is overflowing. And what is that? What is that? And towards the end of the poem, there we say, and say towards the end of the poem, he says, okay, I have never heard a voice like that, but behind the voice, the life was there with her. And what and many of the great people do have some kind of feeling which cannot be fulfilled. The unfulfilled desire. Now go back to Christopher Marlowe's tragedy. The unfulfilled desire led fastest to fall. Like that. See, the same way every man, every woman in this world who is born into this world do have some kind of unfulfilled desire. But are we going to repent for that? Are we going to make for that? No, because, and there I take up a word on intimations of immortality. And especially the last few things, that is one impulse from the vernal word. Look at the line. One impulse from the vernal word may teach you more of a man of all the mortal, evil and good, than all the sages can. Even a sage cannot do anything for you. Even a sage cannot do anything for you. Even see, for example, in Tintin Abbey, what happened in Tintin Abbey? See, it is a monologue kind of a poem. And he says he is just cooking in the deep forest, but only he can recognize some smoke coming out of it. So how does he feel? When none others who are watching it is not able to. So Tintin Abbey is a miraculous one. If we talk about Tintin Abbey, the whole day will go. But to that extent, it has. And see, that is where when you want to see what you need, definitely the things are there in the nature. Because what we give, we get back. And that is what Robert Frost has also, though an American poet, has told in one of his poems, woods are lovely, dark and deep. I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep and miles to go before I sleep. Why? Because, see, the world is very large. The world is at our disposal. But how are we taking in is a question. How are we doing it is a question. And not only that, look at that. When you look at these lines, even a small child, I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high worlds and hills. This is very simple. The first four lines is very simple because it do talk about the idea of the flower. But look at the last lines. Look at the last lines. For often, when on my couch I lied in vacant or in pensive mood. Whenever you are, see, that is where even the greatest of great saints are talking about today. Only when we have problems, we turn to the God. We turn to the other forces which can give some kind of comfort. But that shouldn't be. That shouldn't be. Because when often on my couch I lie in vacant or in pensive mode, they flash upon that inward eye. What is that inward eye? Which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with daffodils. See, flowers are beautiful as long as they are there in their place. When it is plucked, it is gone. The same way, nature has its beauty. Nature has its own senses. And nature do have feelings. And if you talk to nature, you will get the things from the nature. And not only that, see, the idea behind the whole thing, the word on intimations of immortality, is that he wants to recollect the old life. Was he able to do that? Was he able to do that? No. A simple 9-line poem like Solitary Reaper can make millions, mountains in our minds, but not some sages, some saints. We try to find a solution to the problem, but what, according to Wordsworth, is that nobody defines the problem. And when you are able to define the problem, things will be very clear. And when you are able to do that, because towards the end of the poem, he says in the immortality word, to me, the meanest flower that blows give thoughts that lie too deep for tears. My goodness, I don't find a line equivalent to this, which can be compared in any of the poets of that age or even later. Because to me, the meanest flower, he started with one impulse from the Werner wood, and he ends with that, to me, the meanest flower. See, and it is not only that which is very important in our life, and we have to take a life as such. There will be problem, there will be obstacles, there will be something, but if you are disciplined, if you approach, that's what I told you, romanticism do talk about many of the ideas, and their loneliness and everything. Above all that, the love of nature. And love of nature also falls in the love of humane. And what is love? And even if anybody is asked to define love, they will define in colored language, sugar-coated words. But that is not. It should come from the heart. It should come from the... And to love nature, you should have the heart. Because, look at this. Say, heard melodies are sweet, and those unheard are sweeter, from John Keats. With that idea, I just want to move to Keats also, because there are so many things I want to cover within this 1 hour. Say, heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter. Does it refer only to music? No. Because what you had in your life, Keats, though followed the footsteps of Wordsworth, differed in one angle. and especially with this poem. With this poem, that is word on a Grecian urn, because this urn depicts so many things. And before that, I would like to tell you what is there in Keats's mind when he started writing poetry. It is a dream or vision versus reality, or joy versus melancholy, or the ideal with the real, or the mortal with the immortal, or a life and death, and above all, the separation and the connection. That is where. And see, Keats is a wonderful poet in the sense, he talked, heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter, in the sense, the past are past. Okay, what we lost or what we gained is according to our destiny. But it is not that we should think only about the past and what is going to be in the future. We do not know. Might be more interesting, more blissful, and more ideological, but you have to take it with everything and see. And another thing is, you should not brood over the things what has happened in the past. And see, first in the beginning of the poem, those still unravished bride of quietness. The Grecian urn starts with that. And look at the second line, though foster child of silence and slow time. See the words that he is coining. Foster child of silence and slow time. And how beautifully he connects that. How beautifully he connects that. And see, what are you going to there? And towards the end of that first thing, he says, what pipes and timbrels, what a wild ecstasy. And he says, you are the destroyer and the preserver. The nature is the destroyer and the preserver. And immediately he said, heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter. Excellent. But again, say, look at this. The thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness increases. It will never pass into nothingness, but still will keep. Okay. Whatever you think of beauty is a joy forever is not to be taken as on the peripheral meaning. Because the joy, the reconciliation, the idealness. Say, when can you get a joy? When can you get the happiness? Happiness is, say, for some people, happiness lies when you talk immensely, freely, continuously out of your heart. And that comes only with a few things. And see, that is what, when I come to Coleridge, I'll be talking about that. See, because the beauty which is there for some time will not hold for a long time, but still, beauty is beauty. What you had enjoyed, what you wanted to have is always there. But loveliness increases, it will never decrease. That is what, see, the love of nature, the love of human, the love of brotherlyhood, everything. What kind of relationship you have, whatever the relationship you have in this world, it will always increase. It will never decrease. And it will never pass into nothingness. And he didn't say that it will stop. He did say that it will pass into nothing, but still will keep a bower quiet for us and sleep full of sweet dreams and health. And see, this is where we always think of that. A bower for and health and quiet self. That is, we need to have a life devoid of all the problems. Everyone wants. But how are we going to make it? The love comes into force. The love comes into effect only when it is reciprocated, when it is given, and when it is shared, and when it is understood, and when it is realized. And then you have to capitalize on that. And this is where the romantic poets do mean a lot in this modern world. We get angry, we get upset over quite silly things, but which means we don't have love of ourselves. If we have a love of ourselves, then we will not fall into that clot saying that I don't like this, I don't want this, and you deserve that, you disappointed. All these things, disappointment will come, because slowly and steadily, say, I was never afraid of failure, for I would sooner fail than not be among the greatest. Definitely. See, failures are stepping stones to success. And that way, you should think about these poets. And that way, you should make amendments for this. And not only that, look at Keats' beautiful poem, that Eve of Saint Agnes. What was it? According to that belief, if anybody who is a spinster, and if she lies down naked and dreams about the husband will come in the dream. And Porphyro and Madeline was fasting, and at the dead of the night, she was dreaming about the dream person, and Porphyro comes in. And where is the magic? And you might say that it is a magic. It is not a magic. It is the belief. That is where I want to stress my point. The belief that you have, the belief Madeline had for Porphyro brought him in the dream. And you might say, how come Keats was able to expose all these things? But he exposed in such a way that in the lines of the poem, it was magnanimous, because it is not a failure. Okay, you might face some failures, but it doesn't mean that you should stop there. In terms of love, in terms of the humanity, you should never think, I was never afraid of failure, for I would sooner fail than not be among the greatest. If everybody say that I'll be a failure, then nobody will start. Nobody will begin, because failures will be there. But I tell you, say, look at this. Don't be discouraged by a failure. It can be a positive experience. Every failure is an experience. Every hurt, everything is an experience for you. And you will get in. Failure is, in a sense, the highway to success. Look at these. All these things are projected in his poem, Endymion. All these ideas. What does Endymion talk about? A thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness increases. It will never disappear. What does he say? See, and he wants to see the poetic romance. Yeah, the poetic romance in Endymion is very clear. Poet's first sustained attempt to explore the beauty of the lover. But he was not able to. But it is not the highway to success, in as much as every discovery of what is false leads us to seek earnestly after what is true. Yes? See, separation can cheat the eye, but can't erase the memories. You might be separated, you might be ending a failure, but it doesn't mean that what you had, what you enjoyed is totally lost. It is not brushed aside or pushed under the carpet or burnt alive along with you. And every fresh experience points out some form of error, which we shall afterwards carefully avoid. Beautiful, beautiful. Say, every fresh experience points out to some form of error. See, I appeal to all the younger generation through John Keats, that earnestly talking, every discovery will have faults, but at the end of the day, it will have its own weightage. See, for the past 30 or 35 minutes, I have not talked about the beauty of any of these poems of Wordsworth or Keats. I have talked about what they wanted or what they meant from their poetry. See, every fresh experience points out some form of error, which we shall afterwards carefully avoid. Yes, what experience is what we require, what it matters. And not only that, see, you can say, very easily say, what we are attempting is, we are looking for a common sense in an uncommon degree, is what the world calls as wisdom. This is exactly what Keats, as well as the next poet whom I am going to talk about later, Coleridge, also felt. This is where we say we want to see common sense in an uncommon degree. See, and you will immediately say, "Oh, what is this? The whole world is lost. World is corrupt." And why? Why do you say? Say, I always used to say, as Wordsworth pointed out in his, if I were a dead leaf, if I were a dead leaf, I would come back to you. And like that, see, if you say that the world is corrupt, forget about the world. What you are doing to the world, how are you representing yourself to the world? And you may say the world has lost sense. Do we have sense? Sometimes we also don't have sense. Because, see, we reciprocate on certain images and messages and words and deeds, but we do not know what is the situation on the other side. And without knowing anything, bluntly we will say, oh, the world has lost its sense. So don't try to find the sense in an uncommon degree, and don't try to call it as a wisdom, because very simply, as the very famous saying that wisdom dawns only at the end and realization comes only after a falling. Yes, wisdom dawns only at the end. We have, we had the wit and the humor, everything. But sometimes we don't have anything in our brain to think about what is going around, and we will not be in a position to think about what is going on around. And that is where we think we have lost. And when we talk about Ode on a Grecian Urn, and when we talk about this particular poem, say, Eve of Saint Agnes, it always takes me to another poet, Shelley, where, of course, I don't want to talk about Shelley because Shelley himself is a world. But when I talk about romantic poets, I need to talk about Shelley also. And in that, the very first thing I would like to talk about is a very small poem called the Visimandius. And I do not, I wanted to get the text of the poem, I couldn't. Say, in that, the last line, I still remember, the last line should be read as the first line. I met a traveler from an antique land who only said, the first line, who only said, two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Oh, beautiful, beautiful poem. Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert of shattered visage. Okay, it is in a dry land. It is totally a barren land, in a desert land, and this visage and this image has been buried. Some people have not taken care of it. What does it mean? We are not bothered about nature. Okay, number one, the statue. And look at the lines in that poem. See, what is that line? The hand that mocked and the heart that fed is no more. The sculptor who made this statue might have gone. And when the sculptor made something about this statue, Visimandius, he has given his heart. And that is where I want to inform you that when you give your heart and soul for something, you will achieve. Forget about the obstacles. Let the great Himalayan barrier stand before us. It will be shattered to pieces if you have the commitment, if you have the conviction, you have a clear idea, clear thought. And the hand that fed and the heart, the hand that mocked and the heart that fed is no more. And look on the mighty despair. My name is Visimandius, King of Kings. Look on the work and the mighty despair. And my name is Visimandius, King of Kings. See, it is not about the buried statue of Visimandius Shelley was talking about. It is not about that. He is talking about how people have lost the value for the self. That is, the sculptor who has given the heart. Did you ever remember See, the same thing. We go and appreciate Taj Mahal, and when we appreciate Taj Mahal, we immediately say, "Oh, Shahjahan is such a great man who loved his wife and built this." But where is this idea came from? Who made it? The heart that fed, the hand that marked, is no more. Also buried in the sand. Also buried in the sand, along with Visimandius. And he might have been a very big king, but what is the use? What is the use? And that is where we think. And when you go into the masterpiece, go to the West Wind. Oh, that is a fantastic poem, because it gives you a lot of ideas. It gives you a lot of ideas, because the number one is that it gives the idea that the nature, the force of nature on earth, on that is land, water, and in the air. And finally, they talk about the force of wind in the fire also. And look at and towards the end, I'm not going into the poem very honestly, because I have got to cover other things. Because say that towards the end, come on, oh, he starts the poem with the "Oh, wild west wind," because he thinks that I have lost something, and this wind can make me recollect the old things and give strength to me. But it didn't happen, and it started ruining one by one, and lastly, and there Shelley stands. If winter comes, can spring be far behind? Okay, fine. What say, that is where the romantic poet stand. Okay, if somebody does some evil to you, forget about it. How long he is going to do that? Okay, all your bad times will come to an end. All your good things will have to start at a particular time of your life. Because when God has created a human kind in this world, he has created every individual with a sense of belonging, sense of mind, and some talents. If A is not good in that, well, B will be good in that. And it doesn't mean that A to Z will be good for nothing. There will be, that is where, say, if winter comes, can spring be far? Okay, come on. You wild west wind, you have spoiled everything. Come on. And that is where you should always think that there is still life to hold on. And that is where, see, okay, even if it is going to be a endless tragedy, fine, because that is being determined for you by the God. Forget about that. See, some kind of hope, some kind of the last straw at the camel's back will be there by the God. And this is where the romantic movement made an impact in the minds of the readers. That is, they wanted to show that if you are disciplined, if you approach your life in a disciplined way, and if you go by the ideas and other things that are prescribed by the romantic movement, well, life will be definitely much, much better. But we always think we brood over the past and think about the future and spoil the present. And that shouldn't be there, and that should not be there. And when you think about Coleridge, who is definitely a gigantic person in the romantic movement, he is one. Silence does not always mark wisdom. He is the one. See, don't be silent. If you are there, if you want to say something, say. Get away from that. That will mark always the best thing. And Coleridge was a man of gigantic genius. Because I'm talking about Coleridge only with reference to one particular poem. That poem itself is a poem which can be talked for hours and days together. The Rime of Ancient Mariner. And say, the Rime of Ancient Mariner, when I say, there are so many things that come to my mind. You might say, what is that he wanted to find in Mariner. See, first of all, I would say that ancient Mariner is a poetic masterpiece of Coleridge. It's a poetic masterpiece of Coleridge, because Coleridge introduced the reader to supernatural realm first time in the Romantic movement, and not only that, and say the killing of Albatross, and not only that, say after that, when the ship has started to sail, what happened to the ship, and what happened to the mariners, what happened to the passengers, and see, day after day. Sorry, just a minute. See, one second. And this is where I want to show you the. See, day after day, and we stuck, nor breath nor motion. Nothing was there. Why it happened? The first mistake that Mariner did was to kill the albatross. And maybe he was under the impression that albatross is not a sign of good woman. But what happened later? And as idle as a painted ship upon a painted ocean, see the language. And see, had Coleridge or Shelley lived for some more time, they would have outwitted Milton and other people. A lovely poet they are. See, though we are stuck in the middle of the ocean, yes, everybody's life is like that. Life is a journey. As Macbeth, life is a tale told by an idiot. Yes, fine, I accept. But we are stuck in our life. But there is no movement in our life. Yes, I accept. There is no kind of emotion coming into our life. Fine, we are idle. We are not able to move this way or that way. That is, the left wing of our life is shattered. The right wing of our life is battered. The rear is cut off. Front, we are engaged in a dogfight. Situation is grim. But yet, we march on. As idle as a painted ship upon a painted ocean. And see, the ship is good. The ocean was good when we started the journey. And what happened later? It was all a big chaos. And why? Because it is, we never dreamt that things will happen in that way. And not only that, the mariner in that poem seems to have been a pretty scalable guy. He's a pretty scalable guy. Definitely. He is very sociable. He wants to, and what is that? It talks about three different ideologies. That is the transformation. The transformations of the mariner shoot the albatross, but the most important transformation is conversion from the painful, prideful jerk who hates large birds. And that kind of transformation he has. And another thing is the transformation of the self to the greater glory. And that way, they are all worried. They are all worried. And see, and towards the end, he says, water, water everywhere, and all the boats are ditching, water, water everywhere, not a drop to drink. How can you? When you have spoiled yourself, or when you have spoiled nature, which was also created by God who has created you, then if you lament for what you are, lamentation is foolish. And water, water everywhere, and all the boats and shrink, water, not a drop to drink. And is it the way that we always think about that? Because alone, all alone on a wide sea, and never a saint took pity on my soul in agony. Alone on a wide sea, and never a saint took pity on my soul in agony. And that is where Coleridge's Rime of Ancient Mariner do talk about the life in the tatters. And why he has chosen that situation as a wedding guest. It has a purpose. Had he told the whole thing somewhere else, we would have lost. Like what we had the epic in Mahabharata. The entire thing was told in the battlefield, because there only people are able to listen. And had it been written and kept it as a mortal, many people, how many literary works have gone like that? The same way, alone, alone, all alone in a wide, wide sea, and never a saint took pity on my soul in agony. That is one thing. And another important thing is that, say, the most important factor is that advice is like snow. The softer it falls, the longer it dwells upon, and the deeper it sinks into the mind. There you have to be. It is, say, you have. It is very easy to give advice from the mariner's point of view, from the guest's points of view, or from the situation itself. It is very easy to give advice, but the softer it falls like a snow, and longer dwells upon, and the deeper it sinks into the mind. And once, if anything is registered into the mind, there the entire thing comes into the force. And not only that, say, not only that idea, the idea of the perception of life, what comes from the heart goes to the heart. So your love for nature, love for human, love for mankind, love for anything, even if it is an ordinary thing, that should come from the heart. And because it goes to the heart of other, heart of nature, heart of another person, heart of another human, or anything. So you should have that kind of an idea, that kind of a vision, that kind of a prospect, because it is very simple to, I have seen gross intolerance shown in support of tolerance. You say that I am able to tolerate things, but I have experienced from my life, when you are trying to explode, when you are trying to come into terms with some person, and if that person is not in terms with you, you try to import the ideas into his or her mind, but when they are not able to get it, you get dejected. But life is such. You tolerate that. You get the tolerance, you get the virtue, because life is not an end in itself. It's only a beginning. And when you approach with these ideas, with these concepts, with these morals into the poems of the Romantic age, you will get something to begin. You have to begin. And because you should start. You might not have lived all these years. You might not have lived happily all these years. But in order to live happily, you should start the beginning. Where is the beginning? The beginning should come from the heart, not from others, not from anybody. See, let Wordsworth be there, let Keats be there, let Shelley be there. But beyond all these things, there should be something. To begin, it is to start. And start with a love of nature, love of humankind, a love for everything, every damn thing that we do in this world. So, with these ideas, I would like to end my talk, because I was given only 1 hour time to talk about the Romantic age, whereas I could have talked in detail about Romantic age even for hours together. And now I leave it open to the discussion, and I take back to the studios where the administrators are waiting for you. Yes, madam.
The themes of wisdom, nature, and life, and many more things that you have shown in a colorful manner, with the way how we have to look again to a romantic poets, and how it is also related to life, that we have learned a lot from this presentation, sir.
Thank you.
Really, that I believe that this particular webinar will ignite our students and faculty members to look into romantic poems in different manner like this. And this will help them to do research also.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. And now I just ask the participants, if you wanted to ask any question, then you can just ask. I think if you're having any question, you can even post that. We'll be answering it.
So there can be,
I will
okay.
request our chief guest to answer that question. Yes, thank you. And comments are coming. I think
So
we
no
didn't have
question
any
means
question.
either
That is much narrated by you.
they
So
have
you have
understood
explained it in a
completely
good
or they
manner,
don't
and
like it.
yes, yes, it is so easy to understand that you have narrated in a
Okay.
common language.
Okay.
It will be very helpful for
Okay.
all the people
Thank
who
you.
have seen that. Really, they will be just loving it. Even I.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I think it's time for the next. Shall we move on to the next vote of thanks session, sir? Or shall we wait for a minute for the questions?
I think it's clearly understood.
Yes, I think the comments are coming like this. It's really inspiring. Yes, with this, I'll just move on to this last session.
Okay.
Let me invite to speak Kale Chelvi, Assistant Professor of English, Devanayamal College for Women, for her vote of thanks.
Passion is more evident when the mind, body, and spirit work to create, develop, and articulate our feelings, ideas, and most secret values. So I thank the Asian souls who lending your ears. Behalf of college, I thank Almighty. Started with praise and ended with praises. Glory. It can only be strengthened and empowered. Sweet themes run softly till you end the song. It's all about today's speaker. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'm damn sure about that. Every spectator are overwhelmed with your spontaneous overflow collaboration with romantic poets. Thank you for being an important part of today's story, sir. And I feel privileged to thank our renowned chairperson, sir, whose vision point have helped to widen horizon of thinking and enduring us. I feel more grateful to thank our secretary, sir, for his fantastic guidance and kindness. My extreme thanks to our registrar, sir, his constant support, and I thank our beloved principal, madam, who is a pillar of today's webinar. I thank Vice Principal, ma'am, Dean of Research and Development, Controller of Examination, Dean A, and heads of various departments. And my sincere thanks to participants from various colleges, heads, students from all over the country. On behalf of our management and administration and our department, I extend my heartfelt thanks to our chief guest, Dr. V.M. Saunders, sir. Especially, I would like to thank him for accepting my invitation for this webinar. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, madam. Thank you. And
Yes, thank
wish
you
you all the
very much.
best. And would like to meet you on a different platform little later.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And dear
Thank you.
participants, you can receive your feedback link in your WhatsApp, so that we'll be just sending in WhatsApp the link for the feedback. Kindly fill that so that you can receive your certificate very soon. Thank you.